Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mr. Dodero. I really appreciate the work you guys do. I hate to say it, but I enjoy reading your reports. That probably speaks volumes about my personality, but I do want to go back to this issue of unobligated balances. And I know that you may or may not be in a position to make a judgment on whether or not this is sound fiscal policy, but I don't think we could make the case that it is absolutely necessary to hold almost $900 billion in unobligated balances. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, my point here then is that we're in a debate over our budget in which we're being asked to increase spending by $30 billion. If we were to reduce the unobligated balances by approximately 3.5%, that would more than cover the increase in spending. Does it not make sense to do that, and particularly in the context of if we're holding money in unobligated balances and then having to borrow money to fund other agencies, isn't there an interest cost incurred in addition to the additional spending?
Well, it's definitely not, it's not an efficient way to operate. I would say, though, that I don't believe it would be probably prudent to do an across-the-board kind of reduction there. I think you have to look at targeted areas and agencies, and that's why we focused on specific areas. We do that every year for the Congress, you know, because in some cases it may make sense to have that, in other cases not, but in no case should it be in excess of what the needs are.
Right. And I just use that as a generalization, not in specific. I think you would have to look at each agency individually. But the point is it's not sound fiscal management.
That is correct. That's why we focus on it.
Mr. Dalrymple, I want to direct some questions to you about the tax gap. And the Inspector General for the Tax Administration, the Treasury Inspector General, issued a report, and in his report he said that there needs to be more timely and more accurate estimates of the tax gap. Currently, the IRS reports this about every 5 years. Has the IRS acted on the Inspector General's recommendations?
We intend to have the new tax gap report out later this month, as a matter of fact, so we're acting on it as we speak.
Can you tell me how much the IRS collected? What was the revenue total collected for 2015 fiscal year? It's over $3 trillion, wasn't it?
It was over $3 trillion, yes.
Based on a report from the Urban Institute and the Brookings Institution over the past 30 years, the tax gap has ranged from 16 to 20%. Let's just say it's 16%. And if $3 trillion came into the IRS last year, that means 16%. That's 84% of what should have been collected. Now, I won't get into the math, but I'll just give you an idea. That means that somewhere in the range of $500 to $550 billion went uncollected. What is the IRS doing to collect the taxes that are owed it?
Well, we have a number of initiatives. I mean, the tax gap itself, one of the things that needs to be completely understood about the tax gap is that it's made up of a lot of different monies owed. And if we were going to go after every sort of last cent of the tax gap, it would be an incredibly intrusive process.
Well, let me suggest this. 84% of it is underreporting, 10% is underpayment, 6% is just flat non-filing. And the point I'm trying to make here, and this may not be the proper form to do it, but you know, even when you do collect some of the of the taxes, you still have a net gap of somewhere between $380 and $400 billion. Yes. And I'm on the Budget Committee. And this is one of these things that makes me want to pull my hair out, and at my age, I don't need to be doing that. We do everything in a 10-year window, and if it's $380 billion a year, that's $3.8 trillion in our 10-year window. okay? And then we've got improper payments that another one of your reports I read, Mr. Dordero, $124.7 billion in 2014. If that's the average, that's $1.25 trillion over that 10-year window, and we're looking at a $19 trillion debt. And we just identified $5 trillion, okay? It seems to me that it begs for a flat tax or a consumption tax, some way of collecting every dime that's owed the government. So I just want to see if the IRS can be more diligent in making sure that we collect the revenue that's owed us, because we've got some serious fiscal issues facing the country. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.